In this video, we're going to take a look at how to get some input and use that inside of our program in a constructive way and then output something back to the user. And so we're going to be using some fairly complex looking constructs. We're going to be tying together a number of things that earlier videos have covered. So we have an actual working program that does something here. I don't know that it does something real useful, but it gets some basic ideas across to you. In the next series of videos, we'll be dealing with files and directories and stuff and really doing some very constructive things. And this is kind of a lead up to there. So our first thing that we do with this program, essentially what it does is it's a little calculator, and it takes two numbers, and based on an operator that the user inputs, it will do that particular math operation, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division in this case. So the first thing we do in the program is we build a little prompt string, and we do that using this head construct where we actually go in and use this character right here, then like a delimiter, text delimiter, and then everything in between this delimiter and the same delimiter at the end. This will all be a string with the proper formatting that you're putting in here with the line feeds. So when you print this out, it'll look like you've entered it here. So that's the first thing we do. Then we go ahead and print that prompt out. Now, you might want to do this because maybe you can build some stuff inside of this prompt, or you might have a multitude of prompts that you want to select from, maybe different languages. I mean, there's a variety of reasons you want to do this instead of just printing it all straight out of here. So we print that prompt. The next thing we do is we print out, okay, enter the first number, and we're using print because we want the input caret to appear right after this instead of on the next line. And then the next statement, this is where we get the user inputs, and we're using gets to get some user input. And if we go here, and I think it's an IO, and so that reads the next line from the IO stream. In this case, we're using the standard in, and we'll see gets when we cover files is the same thing that we're going to be using to get from a file when we read it in. So we're kind of leading up to working with files. So this gets input, a string input, when the user hits return. That whatever they typed in prior to that return will get sent in to us here. And before we do anything with it, we convert it to an integer, and then we assign it to I1. Then we just print a space, keeping it looking nice, and we go ahead and get the second number. Same operation, print it out. The input caret will appear after this text, and then we go ahead and get that input, convert it to an integer, and assign it to I2. And then we say enter an operator, and we give the user choice of which ones they should enter. Same kind of operation, except that we don't do to an integer. Instead, what we do is a chomp. Because when this comes in as a string, it'll actually have the carriage return at the end of it, and we've got to get rid of that because we can't do our case select operation on it with that carriage return on it. We just want the operator, so that's why we do the chomp. Then we put a space in there, and we go ahead and print out the first part of our answer, in other words, and I could actually put in here answer, and we're using the double quotes. So inside the double quotes, we go ahead and evaluate with the hash and the curly braces, and then it'll print out whatever the first number is, the operator, the second number, an equal sign, and then we get down here to this case when construct. So it says case of the operator, because we've got the operator here. When it's a plus sign, we're going to print I1 plus I2. When it's a minus, we'll print I1 minus I2, and so on for multiplication and for division. And that's how we get our answer. And since this is a print up here, that IO caret, if you will, is going to, or the output caret, if you will, is going to be sitting right here, and this will print out its answer, and then go ahead and hit a carriage return and end the program. And this down here just gives us one more extra space at the end to make it look nice. So let's go ahead and run our program. So there we get our little nice input statement, and you can see it's printed out the way we want it to. And we'll input a number and input a second number, and let's multiply these. And there's our answer. 343 times 454 equals this great big number here. So But that's essentially a simple program that does some interesting things. This program is available as a working file as 1102. You can go in here and play around with it and add other operators in here. Maybe you want to do exponentiation or something along those lines. You could move this print statement down below here and set this to a variable instead. There's a number of things you could do to play around with this program and get used to some simple input and output, getting yourself ready for when we start dealing with file input and output.